I still remember the exact moment everything broke. My wife's phone buzzed on the kitchen table while she was in the shower. I was pouring coffee when the screen lit up again and again. I reached over just to silence it. That's when I saw the message. Soon we won't have to hide anymore. Once the divorce is done, everything he worked for will belong to us. My chest tightened. At first I thought it had to be a mistake. Maybe someone sent it to the wrong number. But the contact name was saved with a red heart. My hands started shaking as I opened the conversation. Message after message filled the screen. Months of them. My wife wasn't just cheating. She was planning a divorce, while living in the same house with me. They talked about me like I was stupid. Like I was just an obstacle in their way. He trusts you too much. He'll never see it coming. Once the divorce is done, we'll have the house money and half his savings. My stomach dropped. 15 years of marriage. And this was the plan? I heard the shower turn off upstairs. I quickly locked the phone and placed it back on the table exactly where it was. When she walked into the kitchen smiling like nothing was wrong, I realized something important. If they thought I didn't know, maybe that could become my advantage. But I had no idea how deep this betrayal really went. That night I barely slept. My mind kept replaying those messages over and over. 15 years of marriage suddenly felt like a lie. I was 54 years old. She was 43. I met her when she was still trying to build her life. I helped her start over after a rough time in her past. I worked extra hours so she could feel safe and comfortable. I thought that was what love meant. She handled many things at home. Bills, planning, groceries, schedules. I trusted her with everything because I believed we were a team. Looking back, there were small signs. She had become more distant in the last year. More secretive with her phone. Sometimes she would leave the room to answer calls. But I told myself I was imagining things. That night I watched her sleeping beside me. She looked peaceful. Calm. Like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. The messages kept echoing in my mind. Once the divorce is done. This wasn't just an affair. It was a plan. And if they were planning this for months, maybe even years, then I needed to understand one thing first. How much did she already take from me? The next morning I acted normal. I kissed her goodbye before work. She smiled and told me to drive safe. Her voice sounded warm. Caring. It almost made me doubt what I saw. But doubt disappeared that afternoon. During lunch break I logged into our shared bank account. I didn't check it often. She usually handled most of the household finances. At first everything looked normal. Then I noticed small transfers. 200 here. 500 there. Each one labeled as normal household spending. But when I added them together, my stomach tightened. Over the last 10 months, more than $30,000 had quietly disappeared. My heart pounded. I opened the message app again on my mind. We'll have enough to start fresh. So that was it. She had already started preparing. That evening I watched her cook dinner like she always did. She laughed at a show we were watching together. She looked like the same woman I married. But now I could see something else hiding behind that smile. Planning. Calculating. Waiting. And if she thought I still trusted her, then maybe I should let her keep believing that. For now. 2 days later, I saw the name again. Her phone buzzed while we were sitting on the couch. She picked it up quickly and turned the screen away. But not fast enough. I caught the name for a second. Ryan. That night curiosity burned inside me. After she fell asleep, I quietly checked the phone again. The messages were still there. They were more personal now. More intimate. But something else caught my attention. Ryan kept talking about the future. A new apartment. Trips. Business ideas. He promised her excitement and a better life. One message made my chest tighten. You wasted your best years with him. You deserve someone who actually lives life. My wife replied. I know. He's safe but boring. I feel trapped. Those words hurt more than the affair. Safe but boring. 15 years of loyalty reduced to 2 words. But the more I read, the more I realized something important. Ryan kept pushing her. He kept asking about money. About assets. About the house. It felt less like love, and more like a plan. And suddenly I had a question I couldn't ignore. Was my wife the only one planning something? Or was Ryan planning something too? 3 weeks passed. I kept acting normal. Inside, I was watching everything. Then one afternoon I saw something that made my heart race. While cleaning the home office, I noticed a folder slightly sticking out of her desk drawer. It had a law firm logo on the front. My hands froze. Carefully, I opened it. Inside were printed emails. Divorce consultations. Property evaluations. Notes about asset division. She had already met with a lawyer. My head spun as I read one sentence written in bold. Client wishes to secure favorable settlement before husband finalizes upcoming business contract. My eyes widened. So she knew. She knew about the big deal I had been working on for almost 2 years. If that deal closed, it would change everything financially. And she was waiting. Waiting until it happened, so she could take half. I slowly closed the folder. That was the moment something inside me shifted. This wasn't just betrayal. This was strategy. But if she was planning her move carefully, then maybe it was time I started planning mine. Because I wasn't going to lose everything I built. The next step was simple. Follow the money. I spent the next week reviewing every financial record I could find. Bank statements. Credit cards. Business expenses. At first the numbers didn't make sense. But then I found something strange. A small payment going to a digital bank I had never heard of. It happened once every 2 weeks. Always the same amount. $300. I searched deeper. Eventually I found the truth. She had opened a secret account. The transfers added up to nearly $50,000. My stomach twisted. This wasn't a sudden mistake. This had been building for a long time. That night I watched her watering the plants in the living room. She looked peaceful. Comfortable. Like someone who believed their future was already secure. But something else started forming in my mind. If she had a secret account, and a lawyer, and a new man helping her plan everything, then the best thing I could do was stay quiet. Very quiet. Because the more confident she felt, the more mistakes she might make. And I had a feeling the biggest mistake hadn't happened yet. One night during dinner, she surprised me. She suddenly asked about my work. Is that big deal still moving forward? She said casually. I nodded slowly. It's close. Her eyes lit up for just a second. Too quickly. Too eagerly. Then she smiled. That's great. You deserve it after working so hard. Her voice sounded supportive. But now I could see something else behind it. Expectation. Later that night, while she thought I was asleep, I saw her texting again. I watched quietly through half-open eyes. A few seconds later her phone buzzed with a reply. She smiled. The next morning curiosity pulled me back to the messages. Ryan had written, "Perfect timing. Once his deal closes, you file. Half of that money will change our lives." My chest tightened. So that was the final step of their plan. They were waiting for the deal. Waiting for the moment when I would feel proud of my success. Then she would strike. Divorce. Assets. Half of everything. But as I read those messages, a strange calm settled over me. Because now I knew their exact timeline. And knowing the plan meant I could prepare for it. What they didn't know was that my business deal had one final stage left. And that stage might change everything. 2 weeks later something strange happened. A car I didn't recognize pulled into our driveway while I was working from home. A man stepped out. Young. Confident. Too confident. My wife rushed outside before I could even ask. They spoke near the gate. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I could see the body language. Familiar. Comfortable. Then something surprising happened. He handed her a small envelope. She quickly hid it inside her purse. When she came back inside, she looked slightly nervous. Just someone asking for directions, she said quickly. I nodded slowly. But I knew exactly who that man was. Ryan. Later that night I checked the messages again. They were excited. Soon we won't have to sneak around like this. You'll finally be free. But something about that envelope bothered me. Why would he bring something in person? What could be so important that it couldn't be sent digitally? The answer came 2 days later. And when I discovered it, I realized their plan was even bigger than I first thought. 2 days later, I finally saw what was inside the envelope. My wife left her purse in the bedroom while she was gardening. Curiosity pushed me forward. Inside was a printed document. My heart started racing as I unfolded it. It was a prenup agreement. But not between me and her. Between her and Ryan. My mind struggled to understand. They weren't even divorced yet. But they were already preparing for their future marriage. The document listed financial expectations, assets, property plans. Ryan had written notes in the margins. One line stood out. Use divorce settlement funds for investment property. So that was the plan. Use my money to build their new life. My chest burned with anger. But something else caught my attention. Ryan had signed his full name at the bottom. That name stuck in my head. That night I searched for it online. At first nothing appeared. Then I found a few scattered results. Old business pages. Closed companies. Strange complaints. The deeper I looked, the more uneasy I felt. Because the man my wife trusted didn't seem nearly as successful as he claimed. And if my suspicions were right, she might not be the only one planning a surprise. That night I made a decision. If I was going to survive this, I needed proof. Real proof. I quietly started documenting everything. Screenshots of messages, bank records, hidden transfers, lawyer emails. I stored them carefully in a secure folder. Not out of revenge, but protection. Every new discovery added another piece to the puzzle. And the puzzle was getting darker. Ryan kept pushing her. Every conversation circled back to money. To assets. To the house. It sounded less like love, and more like business. Then I found one message that changed everything. Ryan wrote, "Just stay patient. Once the deal closes, the divorce will crush him. He won't see it coming." Crush him. Those words echoed in my head for hours. My wife didn't correct him. She agreed. That was the moment I stopped hoping this was a misunderstanding. Because now I understood something clearly. They weren't just planning to leave. They were planning to destroy me. But they made one mistake. They believed I was still blind. And that mistake was about to cost them everything. At work, things were moving fast. The business deal I had been chasing for 2 years was finally entering its final stage. If it closed, it would double my company's value. It would secure my future. But now I saw the situation differently. If the deal closed while we were still married, she could claim half. And that was exactly what she was waiting for. The pressure built inside me. But instead of panic, something else grew. Patience. That night my wife surprised me again. She opened a bottle of wine and sat beside me. "You've been working so hard," she said softly. "I'm proud of you." Her words sounded warm. But I knew the truth hiding behind them. She needed me to succeed. Because my success meant her payday. For the first time in weeks, I looked at her and smiled back. Not out of love. But strategy. Because if she believed everything was normal, she would keep revealing more. And the closer we got to the deal, the more confident she would become. Confidence often makes people careless. And careless people make mistakes. One night I woke up around 2 a.m. The bed beside me was empty. A faint light glowed from the living room. I walked quietly down the hallway. My wife was whispering on the phone. "I know," she said softly, "but he's close to finishing the deal." There was a pause. Then she laughed quietly. "No, he still trusts me completely." My stomach tightened. Ryan's voice was faint but clear enough. "Good. Once the money comes through, file immediately." My wife sighed. "I just want this over with." Those words hit harder than I expected. 15 years together. And now she just wanted it over. I stepped back quietly before she noticed me. But something about the call stuck in my mind. Ryan sounded impatient. Almost desperate. Why was he pushing so hard? The answer came the next morning. While researching his name again, I discovered something that changed the entire picture. Something that made me realize my wife might not be the only person being deceived. The next morning I kept digging into Ryan's background. At first everything looked normal. But the deeper I searched, the stranger things became. His business profiles didn't match. Company names changed often. Old partnerships ended suddenly. Then I found something hidden deep in an old forum post. A complaint. Someone accused him of running fake investment schemes. Another post mentioned unpaid debts. My heart pounded. Was Ryan actually broke? I continued searching. Eventually I found an old news article. A short piece about a business dispute years ago. The name matched. The picture matched. The article didn't call him a criminal, but it described financial fraud accusations. The case had disappeared quietly. My mind raced. Did my wife know about this? Or was she blindly trusting him the same way I once trusted her? That night I watched her sitting across the dinner table from me. She looked confident, excited about the future she thought was waiting. But I now understood something she didn't. Ryan might not be the successful man he pretended to be. And if that was true, then the person planning to take everything from me might soon discover she had trusted the wrong man too. But the biggest surprise was still coming. The next week, I did something I never thought I would do. I visited a lawyer. Not the same firm my wife had spoken to. A different one. Someone with experience in complex divorce cases. I sat in a quiet office and told the lawyer everything. The messages. The hidden account. The plan to wait until my business deal closed. The lawyer listened carefully. Then he said something that changed the way I looked at the whole situation. If you stay calm and document everything, the truth will protect you. He explained that courts take financial deception very seriously. Hidden accounts. Secret transfers. Manipulating assets during a marriage. Those things can backfire. He also told me something important about my business deal. If the contract is structured correctly, it may not count as marital income yet. That gave me hope. For the first time since discovering the messages, I felt like I had a path forward. I wasn't planning revenge. I was planning protection. Before I left, the lawyer gave me simple advice. Let her think you know nothing. That part would not be hard. When I got home that evening, my wife greeted me with a warm smile and dinner ready on the table. She asked about my day. I smiled back. But inside, I knew something she didn't. The game had officially begun. Over the next few weeks, the messages between my wife and Ryan became even more revealing. I started to understand why she wanted the divorce so badly. One night I read a long message she sent him. She said she felt like she had given her best years to a safe life. She wrote that marrying an older man had once made her feel secure. But now she felt trapped by routine and responsibility. Ryan fed those feelings perfectly. He told her she deserved excitement, travel, luxury, a life full of adventure. He promised her that once they had the divorce money, everything would change. But there was another reason hiding in their messages. My wife was afraid of getting older. She believed that if she didn't leave now, she would miss her chance at a different life. Ryan played on that fear constantly. Soon you'll be free, he wrote. But every promise came with one condition. The money. Everything kept returning to the same subject. Assets. Settlements. Divorce payouts. The more I read, the more I realized something painful. She didn't just fall in love with another man. She fell in love with an illusion of a life she thought she deserved. And illusions can be very dangerous. At work, the pressure kept building. The big deal was moving toward the final signature. 2 companies wanted to partner with my consulting firm for a major project. If it closed, the contract would be worth more than anything I had ever worked on before. But now every step of the deal carried new meaning. Because I knew my wife was watching. She asked about it almost every day now. How close are you? Are they ready to sign? Her curiosity sounded supportive. But I knew what she was really waiting for. The moment the deal became official. One night she even suggested celebrating early. We should plan a vacation, she said. Ryan later sent her a message that made my chest tighten. Once he signs, file immediately. Don't wait. The plan was becoming clearer. They wanted to strike while I was still celebrating. While I was distracted by success. But something they didn't know was happening behind the scenes. My lawyer had helped me adjust the contract structure. The deal would be finalized through a new business entity. One that protected it from becoming marital property during the divorce process. It was completely legal. Completely transparent. But my wife didn't know that. And she was about to make her move very soon. My wife began acting different. More cheerful. More relaxed. It was almost like she had already won. She started making small comments about independence and fresh starts. One evening she said something strange while we were watching television. Do you ever feel like life gives you a second chance? I nodded slowly. I suppose it does. She smiled softly but didn't say anything else. Later that night I saw another message from Ryan. You'll be free soon. Just imagine waking up next to someone who actually makes you feel alive. My wife responded quickly. I can't wait. Those words hurt more than I expected. But I reminded myself of something important. Feelings didn't change facts. And the facts were slowly building in my favor. Every message. Every transfer. Every lie. They were creating a trail. A trail that would eventually lead somewhere neither of them expected. But I still had one big question. Why was Ryan so desperate to rush the divorce? What was pushing him so hard? A few days later, I finally discovered the answer. While researching Ryan again, I found something new. Court records. Several of them. My heart started racing as I opened the documents. They were lawsuits. Old business partners accusing him of unpaid debts. Failed investments. Broken contracts. Some of the cases had been settled quietly. Others were still unresolved. The numbers shocked me. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Ryan wasn't wealthy at all. He was drowning in debt. Suddenly his behavior made perfect sense. He needed money. Fast. My wife wasn't just his lover. She was his opportunity. And the divorce settlement was his escape plan. I leaned back in my chair, trying to process everything. My wife believed she was leaving a boring life for a successful man. But the truth looked very different. Ryan wasn't rescuing her. He was using her. And when I looked back at their messages, something else became clear. Ryan kept encouraging her to push for as much money as possible. Even suggesting legal tactics. The man she trusted might be the biggest liar of all. But the most shocking discovery came the next day. I continued digging. This time into the company Ryan claimed to own. According to his social media, he ran a successful investment firm. But when I searched official records, the company barely existed. No major clients. No real office. Just a small registration with almost no activity. I felt a chill run through my body. The lifestyle he bragged about online didn't match reality at all. Luxury cars. Expensive trips. Designer suits. But none of it had a clear financial source. It looked like a carefully built image. An illusion. Then I found something even stranger. Several people online claimed Ryan had approached them with investment opportunities that never worked out. Nothing proven in court. But enough stories to raise serious doubts. I stared at the screen, realizing something unbelievable. My wife thought she had found a successful, exciting partner. But the man she trusted might actually be a professional manipulator. And the more I learned, the clearer one truth became. Ryan wasn't planning a life with her. He was planning to use her. The only question now was, how long would it take before she realized that? 2 weeks later, it finally happened. My wife came home early from work. She sat across from me at the kitchen table with a serious expression. We need to talk, she said. My heart pounded even though I knew this moment was coming. She took a deep breath. I think we've grown apart. The words sounded rehearsed. Calm. Prepared. She talked about needing freedom. Finding herself. Wanting a different future. Then she slid a folder across the table. Divorce papers. My hands felt cold as I opened them. Inside were legal documents already prepared by her lawyer. She was asking for half the house. Half the savings. and a share of my upcoming business deal. I looked up slowly. She avoided my eyes. I hope we can do this peacefully, she said. I nodded quietly. Inside, my emotions were swirling. But I kept my voice steady. If this is what you want, we'll handle it properly. For a brief second, relief flashed across her face. She believed the plan was working. But she had no idea how much had already changed. And she had no idea what truth was about to surface. My lawyer moved quickly. Within days we had gathered every piece of evidence. Hidden transfers. Secret bank accounts. Messages discussing divorce plans. Ryan's financial background. Everything. The legal strategy was simple. We weren't attacking her. We were presenting the truth. My lawyer explained something important. When people try to manipulate the system often turns against them. The court would examine financial behavior during the marriage. Secret accounts could reduce her claim. Deception could damage credibility. Meanwhile, my business deal had already been structured legally outside the marital timeline. She didn't know that yet. One evening I saw her texting Ryan excitedly. The papers are filed. It's finally happening. Ryan replied quickly. Perfect. Soon we'll celebrate. Reading those messages, I felt something strange. Not anger. Not hatred. Just quiet patience. Because the closer we got to the court date, the closer we got to the moment when illusions would break. And some illusions break louder than others. 3 days before our first court hearing, something important happened. My business deal finally closed. After 2 years of work, negotiations, and stress, the contract was signed. My company officially secured the partnership. The project would bring major growth. But the structure of the deal mattered most. Because it had been finalized through the protected entity my lawyer helped create. That meant something very important. The contract was not marital property. My wife didn't know this yet. That evening she came home smiling. I heard your deal went through, she said. I nodded. Yes, it did. She tried to hide her excitement, but I could see it clearly. In her mind, this was perfect timing. The divorce process had just started. The deal had just closed. She believed she had secured her share. Later that night I saw her message Ryan. Everything worked exactly as planned. Ryan responded with celebration emojis. We're about to be rich. I stared at the screen quietly. Because neither of them understood something yet. The deal they were celebrating was never going to belong to them. The first court hearing arrived. My wife looked confident when we entered the courtroom. Ryan was sitting quietly in the back row. Watching. Waiting. Her lawyer presented the case first. They argued that she had supported our marriage for years and deserved half of everything, including my new business contract. Then my lawyer stood up. That's when everything changed. He calmly presented financial records showing the hidden bank account. The secret transfers. Months of evidence proving that my wife had been quietly moving money during the marriage. The judge's expression grew serious. Then my lawyer presented something else. Screenshots of messages discussing divorce plans long before she filed. Messages about waiting for the business deal. Using the settlement to fund a new life. The courtroom became silent. My wife's confidence began to fade. But the biggest moment was still coming. Because my lawyer had one final piece of information ready. And it wasn't about my wife. It was about the man sitting quietly behind her. Ryan. My lawyer asked the judge for permission to present additional evidence. He displayed public records connected to Ryan. Court cases. Debt claims. Business disputes. Failed investment complaints. The judge leaned forward as the information appeared on the screen. Ryan's confident posture slowly disappeared. Then my lawyer explained something shocking. Ryan had been involved in several questionable financial ventures over the years. Nothing criminally proven. But enough to show a clear pattern. He often partnered with people who suddenly had access to money. The courtroom murmured quietly. My wife turned around slowly to look at him. Her expression changed completely. Confusion. Shock. Fear. The man she trusted suddenly looked very different. Ryan avoided her eyes. My lawyer didn't accuse him of a crime. He simply presented facts. Facts that raised serious doubts about his intentions. For the first time since this nightmare began, I saw my wife realizing something painful. She had trusted someone who might have been using her all along. But by then, the damage was already done. Weeks later, the court delivered its decision. Because of the hidden account and financial deception, the judge reduced my wife's settlement significantly. She received far less than she expected. The business deal remained entirely mine. My company moved forward with the new partnership. Years of hard work finally paid off. Ryan disappeared soon after the hearing. Some people said he had moved to another city. Others said creditors were still chasing him. My wife tried contacting him many times. But he stopped answering. The future she imagined collapsed almost overnight. As for me, life slowly became peaceful again. The pain of betrayal never fully disappears. But something important grew stronger. Patience, endurance, and the understanding that quiet strength can overcome even the deepest betrayal. Looking back now, I realize something simple. Love is often shown in small acts. Paying bills, cooking dinner, cleaning, caring for someone every day. Those things may look ordinary, but they are powerful. When people stop appreciating them, they risk losing something real. If there is one lesson from my story, it is this. Betrayal can come from the people you trust them. Loyalty protects you. Truth reveals itself. Little kindness means a lot and should never be mistaken for weakness. And sometimes patience always has a reward. If this story taught you anything, comment your experience and share the video with someone who might need that reminder today.